On my 30th birthday, my wife announced that she had completely forgotten about the celebration, and she left to go have fun with her friends. Thanks to geolocation, I found out that she was at a hotel. Instead of causing a scene on the spot, I called the front desk and paid for a cake to be delivered to room 304. Attached to it was a note: "Happy birthday to me. Enjoy the divorce." Her panic began immediately. I am 30 years old. My wife, who is now 28, have been together for 6 years, 4 of which we have been officially married. We had been discussing this milestone for many months. She knew perfectly well how much my 30th birthday meant to me. It was an important life stage that I wanted to reach with certain achievements. On the morning of the celebration day, I woke up hoping for some sign of attention, breakfast in bed, or at least a card, but I received absolutely nothing. When I went down to the kitchen, my wife was on her phone and didn't even look at me. She just said, "Hey, I'm late for brunch with a friend. I'll be back later." I stood there, stunned. It was a Tuesday, and she had specifically taken time off from work, saying she just needed a day off. She grabbed her bag and disappeared behind the door without a single congratulations. For about 20 minutes, I just sat at the table, trying to process what had happened. Then a message came from my brother. "Happy 30th, bro. Big day. What did she give you?" At that moment, it hit me. Either she really forgot, or she pretended to. I worked from home all day, convincing myself that a surprise awaited me in the evening. My parents called, my friends texted. Absolutely everyone remembered, except for the closest person to me. Around 4 p.m., I decided to check her location. We shared geolocation by her own initiative. She said it made her feel safe during work trips. The dot on the map pointed to a hotel in the city center. Not a restaurant, not a spa, but specifically a hotel. My heart sank into my heels. I tried to call, but the calls went to voicemail. I could have driven there, burst into the room, and caused a scandal, but I chose a different path. I found the hotel's number online. My request sounded strange. I told the receptionist that it was my wife's birthday today, and I wanted to send her a cake. The girl at the front desk was enthusiastic. Using my wife's name, she quickly found the booking, room 304. I asked for the order to be delivered within 30 minutes. When asked about the text for the card, I thought for exactly 3 seconds. "Happy birthday to me. Enjoy the divorce." There was silence on the other end of the line. The employee asked again if I was sure about the text. I replied that I had never been so sure. The cake cost me $65. After paying, I immediately contacted a divorce attorney whom a colleague had recommended and left a message about needing an urgent consultation. Then I just sat on the couch and waited. At 5:43 p.m., my phone started exploding. My wife called endlessly, and then the messages poured in. "What the hell? Why did you do this? You are embarrassing me. Call me immediately. This is not funny." I did not answer, methodically saving screenshots. Around 6 p.m., a call came from an unknown number. An unfamiliar woman shouted, asking what was wrong with me. It turned out to be her friend. She accused me of humiliating my wife in front of everyone. When I asked why she wasn't alone there was silence, then insults. I replied that now she could find someone better for herself, no longer being married to me. At 7 p.m., the lawyer called back. After hearing the story about the cake at the hotel, he chuckled and scheduled a meeting for 9 a.m., asking me to bring all the financial documents. My wife returned home at 9:30 p.m. I was sitting in the living room with a bottle of beer watching TV. She flew into the room like a hurricane. "What was that?" I calmly answered that it was a cake for my birthday, which she had forgotten about. She started claiming that she hadn't forgotten, but had been planning a surprise for the weekend. When I asked in which exact hotel this surprise was supposed to take place, she blushed and started accusing me of stalking. I reminded her that sharing location had been her idea. She swore that nothing had happened, that they were just having drinks with a group, and someone had rented the room to continue the get-together. She couldn't name the name of this someone, even though the room was booked under her name. I informed her that I was going to a lawyer tomorrow. She burst into tears, calling what was happening a stupid misunderstanding. But I was adamant. She spent my birthday at a hotel with strangers while I waited for her at home. I went to the guest room and locked the door. She cried outside the door for another half hour, but for the first time in a long time, I slept peacefully. 3 days later, I met with the lawyer. It turned out that my situation was not so bad. Although the house was jointly owned, 80% of the down payment came from my grandfather's insurance proceeds. That is a strong argument. But the main issue became my pinball machines. I have been restoring them for 8 years now. Currently, there are 6 fully restored units in the garage, with a total value of about $45. All of them were purchased and repaired by me, either before the marriage or with personal funds, and I have all the receipts. Another 2 machines are in progress. Their value will be another $15. The lawyer confirmed that this is my separate property, but everything needs to be carefully documented. While my wife was at her parents' house, I cataloged my collection. Soon, messages started pouring in from her mother, accusing me of destroying the family over a trifle. I answered once, briefly stating the facts. She spent my birthday at a hotel. I sent her a cake. And now I am filing for divorce. After that, I blocked my mother-in-law. On the 4th day, my wife came home. I was working in the garage on a 1978 8-ball machine. She tried to start a conversation, but I advised her to contact my lawyer. She started making excuses again, mentioning some friend of her friends who was in that room. I said directly, even if I assume she didn't cheat, her choice to spend my celebration in the company of strangers instead of with me means the end of our relationship. 4 years of marriage are over. Then she changed tactics and declared that she would demand half the value of the machines, half the house, and alimony because her income was lower. I reminded her that the machines were bought with my money, and a year ago she called them junk in the garage. She accused me of being vindictive, to which I answered that this was just common sense. In the end, she tried to soften, asked for a conversation in family therapy, but I refused. I am not going to believe her excuses and forgive such neglect. Try to get out of your head the idea that you are already planning to take half of my things. No, I am fine. She burst into tears again. Where am I supposed to go now? Your parents seemed welcoming. You are kicking me out of my home, out of our shared home? Then I will gladly sell it and split the proceeds, or you buy out my share, or I buy out yours. The lawyer will send the options. I cannot afford to buy out your share. Then we sell, and I will move into an apartment. She stood there, probably expecting me to give in. When I returned to work on the machine, she finally left. 2 days later, I was served documents from her lawyer. She is demanding half the value of the house. Fair enough. Half of my retirement account. Under the law, she is entitled to part of what I earned during the marriage. Half the value of all pinball machines. $30,000 by her estimate. Inflated. Spousal support for 3 years. Payment for her car, which is in my name. A stupid decision I made 2 years ago. My lawyer reviewed the papers. It is aggressive, but standard. We will prepare a counteroffer. The pinball machines are your personal property. We can prove that. Spousal support for 3 years is laughable, given the short duration of the marriage and her ability to work. The car is annoying, but we will handle it. But here is what finished me off. I found out from my brother, who heard from his girlfriend, who is friends with a colleague of my wife, that the guy in the hotel was actually the man she had been working out with at the gym. They had been workout partners for 6 months. 6 whole months. I wrote to her about it in a message. Gym partner, 6 months. Want to change your story? She said, "Who told you that? That is a lie. Misa, you don't have a workout partner with that name." My brother said to me, "We are just friends. Just like you were just friends in the hotel. Nothing happened. We were just talking in a hotel room that you paid for on my birthday, which you forgot about." I didn't forget. I was planning to have a celebration with everyone this weekend. For me, 5 days have passed. Where is my surprise party? There was no answer. Such self-righteousness is actually impressive. She genuinely believes she did nothing wrong and that I am overreacting. Her father called yesterday. He seemed quite reasonable. "Listen, I know she made a mistake, but don't you think divorce is too radical, sir? With all due respect, she spent my birthday at a hotel with another man and completely forgot about me. What would you do in my place?" A long silence. I would be furious. Exactly. And I am resolving this matter legally and calmly. She says you are taking everything away from her. I am taking what belongs to me. She is entitled to her legal share of the marital property. That's it. The pinball machines are separate property, all bought before the wedding or with documented personal funds. He sighed. She hasn't been herself since you filed for divorce. She made that choice herself. You really don't want to try to fix things? No, thank you for calling. He didn't push. He seemed to understand everything. Meanwhile, I started sleeping better, eating better, and truly enjoying my evenings. I started a new restoration project, a 1980 firepower machine. Constant occupation helps. The divorce process continues. Second update. 5 weeks have passed. Everything has become much more complicated. First, she officially moved out. Her parents helped her load her things into a van. She tried to take the 65-inch TV that I bought 2 months before we met. I have the receipt. She called me petty. Her mother called me selfish. Her father told them both to just take her things and leave. A wise man. Then came the depositions. For those who don't know, this is a procedure where both parties answer questions under oath in court. My lawyer prepared me. Just answer honestly. Don't volunteer extra information. Stay calm. Her lawyer tried to portray me as controlling and vengeful. They asked about the cake incident. Her lawyer. You sent a humiliating message on a cake to your wife in the presence of her friends. Me. I sent a cake to my wife on my birthday, which she forgot about. Yes. With a message about divorce, the purpose of which was to embarrass her. With a message that stated facts. It was my birthday, and I was planning to file for divorce. Don't you think that was cruel? I think forgetting your husband's birthday to spend the day at a hotel with another man is cruel. I suppose a cake is a fairly mild action compared to that. My lawyer barely suppressed a smile. They asked about the pinball machines. They tried to prove they were marital property because some restoration work was done during the marriage. I have receipts confirming the purchase dates and amounts. All were acquired before the marriage or with inheritance money that I kept in a separate account. Restoration is my personal labor, which increased the value of my property. Your wife supported you in these hobbies. My wife repeatedly called them junk and a waste of space. I have messages if you would like to review them. My lawyer smiled. But here is where things got really interesting. Her testimony. Were you at the hotel on your husband's birthday? Yes. Why? My friends and I were celebrating, just relaxing. What exactly were you celebrating? Nothing specific, just a girls' get-together. Were there men present? Some friends came with their boyfriends. Was there a person known as the guy from the gym there? Yes. How do you know him? From the gym. How long have you known each other? About 6 months. Would you call him a close friend? We work out together sometimes. Did you tell your husband about him? That question never came up. For 6 months, it never came up that you have a friend with whom you spend several hours a week? I didn't think it was important. Did anything romantic or physical happen between you? No, we are just friends. In the hotel on your husband's birthday, did you ever find yourself alone with him? Long pause. We talked briefly in the hallway. Only in the hallway? Another pause. And briefly in the room, but there were other people there too. My lawyer had messages from that guy's friend to another person, legally obtained during discovery from the gym guy's phone. Phrases like, he finally got her to the hotel, and it's about time, and that she was planning to leave her husband soon. We presented them at the deposition. Her face went pale. That doesn't mean anything. He got it wrong. He got it wrong about you saying you were going to leave your husband? I never said that. So that text exchange is fabricated? I don't know. Maybe he misunderstood. She left that deposition looking like she had seen a ghost. 2 days later, I received a message on social media from the ex-girlfriend of that gym guy. They had broken up because of this whole story. She just wanted me to know. My wife was far from innocent. They had been texting for months and meeting outside of workouts. She told him that her marriage was effectively dead, and she was looking for a way out. I'm sorry you got dragged into this. She sent screenshots, months of flirtatious messaging, planning meetings, my wife complaining about me. Nothing overtly physical, but it was definitely emotional cheating territory. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. This will help us, he said. It proves fault, even though our state allows no-fault divorce. It will help us against spousal support. The next week, she changed tactics. She came to my apartment. I had already moved out of the house. She had refused to leave it until the sale was completed. Can I come in? She asked. No, please. I need to tell you something. Say it from there. She took a deep breath. I am pregnant. My heart stopped. What? 2 months. I just found out. I did the math. 2 months ago was exactly the time of my birthday, and the hotel incident. My child or his? Her face contorted. How can you ask that? Quite easily. Is he mine or the gym guy's? Yours. We were together 2 months ago. Once. 2 months ago, right before my birthday. And how many times did you see him after that? I haven't been with him at all. The content of the text messages suggests something completely different. Those exchanges don't actually prove that anything physical happened between you. So you insist the child is definitely mine? Fine. Do a genetic paternity test immediately after it is born. If it confirms the baby is mine, I will take on child support. If not, that's not my problem. You won't even consider reuniting for the sake of the future baby. Not in the slightest. And you would let your child grow up in a broken home? My child will be raised by a father who knows how to respect himself. That is much better than growing up watching his dad be walked all over. I made a mistake. Can't you forgive me? No. See you in court. I closed the door on her. She stood there crying for a while before finally leaving. I told my lawyer everything. He was less optimistic. If the child is actually yours, this complicates things significantly. Child support, custody, co-parenting, all of that completely changes the dynamics of the process. I understand, but I am not going to stay married just because of a child. That would only make things worse for everyone involved. Agreed. Let's wait for official confirmation. Now she is trying to use the pregnancy as a tool for leverage. Her lawyer sent an official letter stating that she needs the house because the child requires a stable environment. Also, that I should cover all medical expenses and give her an additional sum in the property division. My lawyer's response was crystal clear. A paternity test is mandatory before considering any issues related to the infant. My client is ready to discuss custody and financial support exclusively for his biological child. In response, her side sent an angry letter about how insulting it is to demand such a test. My lawyer parried. Then she shouldn't have been at a hotel with another man on her own husband's birthday. Checkmate. Meanwhile, the house was successfully sold. We split the proceeds after fully paying off the mortgage. Each of us received approximately $62,000. That is a bit less than I initially expected, but it's fair. I managed to find a decent apartment very close to my workplace. Moving together with the pinball machines was a real nightmare, but it was worth it. I set up a proper game room and brought my 1980 firepower machine to perfection. I invited several friends over for a pinball tournament and had a really good time. One of my friends came with his sister. She turned out to be seriously into retro games. We talked for about 3 hours about classic arcade culture. I got her phone number. I am not ready for full-fledged dating yet, but maybe sometime in the future it will happen. The divorce trial is scheduled for 2 months from now, unless we reach an agreement sooner. Her demands have become more reasonable. Put simply, this means the lawyer probably explained to her how bad her position is. Now she is asking for her half of the house sale, which we already agreed on. She is also claiming 30% of my retirement savings accumulated during the marriage, instead of the previous 50%. For the pinball machines, she wants 8% instead of 30%. She is requesting spousal support for 1 year in the amount of $500 per month, instead of 3 years. I continue to pay for her car until the loan is fully paid off in 18 months. My lawyer's counteroffer was as follows. Half the proceeds from the sale of the house. That is acceptable. 35% of the retirement contributions during the marriage. We are willing to compromise on that. $0 for the pinball machines, as they are separate property, and the relevant evidence has already been provided. No spousal support. She is employed full-time, the marriage was short, and the cause of its breakdown was her fault. I will transfer the car title and loan into her name, and she will make the payments herself. We are very close to a final settlement. The only sticking point remains the pinball machines. She is furious that I refuse to pay her anything for them. She claims she tolerated their presence for many years. My response via my lawyer was succinct. The fact that you put up with your spouse's hobby does not entitle you to claim the value of his collection. The counteroffer remains the same, $0. Preparation for the trial continues. Final update. 3 months later, a settlement was finally reached. The case never went to trial. My wife's lawyer finally managed to convince her that she could not win the dispute over the pinball machines, and that the spousal support issue under these circumstances was completely hopeless. The final terms are as follows. The proceeds from the sale of the house were split equally, $62,000 each. That issue is closed. She received 35% of the retirement contributions made during the marriage. For the pinball machines, she got nothing. That is a complete victory. No spousal support payments. An even more significant victory concerns the car. She assumed the loan obligations and the transfer of ownership. Freedom. Each of us pays for our own lawyer's fees. In total, my legal expenses were about $8,500. That was worth every cent spent. The situation with the child resolved itself. 2 weeks after we demanded a paternity test and the production of medical documents, she had a miscarriage. My lawyer and I seriously suspect that there was never any pregnancy at all, and that it was only used as leverage. Even if she really was pregnant, the timing of this event, right at the moment of increased legal pressure, looks extremely suspicious. I did not insist on further investigation. If she really lost the child, that is unfortunate, regardless of who the father was. If she made it all up, she will have to deal with her own conscience. In any case, it is no longer my problem. The divorce was officially finalized last week. The judge signed all the necessary papers. It is over. She tried to reach out one more time, sending an email. It said, "I know you hate me. I don't blame you for that, but I want you to know, I am sorry. I should have been honest from the start. I should have been more considerate of your feelings. I hope someday you can find it in yourself to forgive me." I read the message twice, then simply deleted it. No reply is necessary. My brother asked if I felt any relief or satisfaction now that it is all over. Honestly, yes. And it's not about revenge, it's about a feeling of peace. Like I carried a huge weight for months and finally was able to put it down. The pinball machines are already set up in my new home. The game room looks absolutely magnificent. I have returned to my restoration hobby with renewed energy. I recently bought a 1979 Gorgar machine cheap. It needs serious repairs, but when the work is finished, its value will be around $7,000. With the woman I met at the tournament, we continue to see each other occasionally. Nothing serious yet. Last week, she came over to help me figure out a solenoid problem on the 8-ball machine. We ordered pizza, fixed the mechanism, and played a few games. Everything was easy, relaxed, and completely drama-free. She knows about my divorce. I have been completely honest from the start about this whole mess. Her reaction made me laugh. She said my ex-wife is a complete idiot for trading a man who can fix vintage pinball machines for some random guy from the gym. Life is not perfect. The divorce cost me a lot of time and financial resources. At this point, I have lost the ability to make a down payment on a new house. My retirement savings have been significantly reduced. Some mutual acquaintances have taken her side, based on the stories she told them. But I kept my machines, kept my self-respect, and managed to get out of that relationship before having children. Could have made everything even more complicated. Now I sleep absolutely peacefully. The best part is that I will never forget my 31st birthday. I already have plans for it. My brother is going to throw a party for me. There will be real friends and a real celebration, and this time I will definitely bake the cake myself. No hotels this time. Looking back at the moment when I called the hotel and ordered that cake, I realize those were the best $65 I have ever spent in my life. And not because it humiliated her, but because in that second, I firmly decided that I deserve better treatment. And that is the truth. My lawyer even kept a copy of the receipt for that cake. He said it was the most effective start to a divorce case he had ever seen. Most men spend weeks or even months trying to gather evidence of infidelity. I just sent a cake and continued living my life. My advice to anyone in a similar situation, always trust your intuition. If you feel like something is wrong, your suspicions are probably justified. Don't waste your precious time on people for whom you are not a priority, and be sure to document absolutely everything. Receipts, text messages, timelines. All of that makes resolving legal issues much easier. And one more thing, if you are thinking about getting into pinball restoration, definitely try it. It is incredibly therapeutic and can be potentially profitable. Just remember to keep detailed records of all your purchases and the work done. You never know in advance when you might need to prove ownership of separate property during a divorce. Work on the 1979 Gorgar is progressing well. I think I will fully restore it by next month. I even already have a potential buyer willing to pay $6,800. Life goes on, and frankly, it is quite good. One last thought. I wonder what that courier at the hotel thought when he carried a cake with the words, "Happy birthday to me, enjoy the divorce," to room 304. It probably wasn't the strangest thing he ever delivered, but it certainly ranks in the top 10. I hope he got a generous tip then. With this, I end my story. It's time to stop replaying the past in my head and focus on tomorrow. I have broken machines waiting to be repaired, and a life that needs to be rebuilt. Thank you to everyone who followed my story. Peace to all.